Welcome to the Crown Council Mentor of the Month program. This is Steve Anderson. On September 11th, 2001, Crown Council member Dr. Bob and Pat Zampieri lost their son Robbie in the World Trade Center. In an effort to do some good out of such a bad tragedy, Bob and his family established a foundation to benefit St. Anthony's High School in inner-city Jersey City, New Jersey. And it's easy to see why. Over the last 15 years, every student who has graduated from St. Anthony's has been accepted to college. Many of the school's 250 students come from homes below the poverty level. The school has to raise over $1 million a year just to stay open and keep tuition affordable. Out of its many accomplishments, St. Anthony's is also the home of one of the winningest coaches in American high school basketball. Coach Bob Hurley is coming off his 36th season, having secured 23 state championships, and his third recognition is leading the #1 national high school boys basketball team in the country. His career of 933 wins and only 102 losses makes him one of the greats in coaching. But this story is much more than just about winning a basketball game. It's about winning in life. Coach Hurley's athletic program has produced hundreds of college athletes as well as professional athletes. He produces great young men through a great athletic program. He's become one of the highest-profile high school coaches in America, who has spent most of his career working part-time as a coach for the school while maintaining other positions to earn a living. He routinely turns down much higher-paying jobs because of his dedication to St. Anthony's and the inner-city kids he works with. So it is with deep gratitude to Dr. Bob and Pat Zampieri that we welcome one of the greats in American high school sports, Coach Bob Hurley, as this month's Crown Council Mentor of the Month. Bob, welcome.
Thank you, Steve.
We appreciate you taking the time with us today. I've heard a lot about you over the years from Dr. Zampieri. He sent me a copy of the book that was written about you in the school called A Miracle at St. Anthony's, and you have quite a legacy that you built there. So maybe you could take us back a few decades and fill us in on what got you interested in coaching in the first place and what got you started.
Sure. Well, I began coaching while I was playing at St. Peter's College, and it started with my brother Brian's CYO team had a fireman who was coaching, and he couldn't always get to practice. So what they needed someone to go to the gym at night so that they would be able to use the gym. They needed an adult. So my brother said, you're barely an adult, as a freshman in college, but the custodian will let us practice, or you just go sit there. So I started to sit during their practices and couldn't let them just run around crazy. I started organizing them. So as a freshman in college, I began, thinking that I needed to organize, kids in basketball, started running summer leagues, and within a couple of years, I was now over at St. Anthony's coaching the freshman team.
Fantastic. Well, every coach and business person or professional has a philosophy that directs what they do. You obviously have one. I don't think you could have achieved the kind of success you have without one. So fill us in on the basics of your philosophy.
Yeah, well, the first thing I think is that teachers and parents and people that are around young people don't challenge them to reach their potential. And I think that we have a lot of young people that are allowed to be very average when they have the potential to do a lot more. And my feelings has always been is that the kids that come to me that really love basketball, I'm going to challenge them now in basketball first to be the best they can be, and then let that carry over into their personal life and then their academic situation. So it starts with having some control of them, and then once we get them into it, I think it's mastering the basics. I don't think you want to move on to anything until you've mastered the fundamentals. We really emphasize kids being team-oriented. We don't keep much individual statistics in school. Most of our statistics are team-driven. We want to build, from the bottom up. We want to build a sound foundation in the freshman and JV program, the fundamentals, so that the kids move up and they're learning the St. Anthony's way of doing things.
All great points. Thank you. You're working with and in an environment that is by nature very challenging. You're working in an inner city with a lot of kids that come from homes below the poverty level. How do you help the players see and believe in their own true potential when what gets mirrored back from their environment might tell them something different?
Yeah, well, I think they need to start, I think they need to have examples of others whose circumstances could be comparable and where they have gone. So we start off with mentoring the kids, with our college kids, who are now only slightly removed from them in age, but emotionally so much more mature because they're out on their own now, or, away at school. So we have those kids come home during all the holiday breaks and during the summer and get them together with the kids, and then have them come in and talk to the kids about the road that they traveled, how they've gotten to where they are now, the choices that they made. And then the second thing we do, which I think is very helpful, is we have a big library in the athletic department of biographies, more related to sports than perhaps day-to-day life. But we've got the kids reading stories all the time about people that they can identify with who have athletic backgrounds, who've come from difficult circumstances and have risen above environment and made themselves successful. Joe DiMaggio or Ted Williams or Lou Gehrig or Joe Namath, all people that the kids will find out about. We have them read these biographies. Certainly helps them with, building up vocabulary, but it also gets them to realize that, many people have come from circumstances and have just risen above it. And I think those things have been very helpful with us.
Is that required reading?
Well, I think athletically required reading. I think the kids, we want them to read, and I think that I'm continuously talking to the kids about things that I'm reading, and then when I finish books and the assistant coaches finish books, we take them to the library at school, our athletic library, and athletic director will hand the books out. The kids will read them, and after a kid has gotten into a book, we explain how it may take a chapter or two to get involved in the story. But once you get involved in the story, for that period of time that you're reading, it's almost like you're jumping into the lives of those people. Helps to build your imagination, certainly helps to build your vocabulary, and it motivates you that, there are many examples all around you of people who are, ordinary people with an extraordinary desire to be successful.
All right, so I'm going to take that one step further because this is a motivation question. Is how do you get an inner city kid that may not initially be that interested in education? He wants to play ball, but part of the development here is to read and read biographies. Do they have a set requirement where they have to read a book? Do you just encourage them to do it? How do you get them in the book in the first place?
Well, I think the way to do it is to just acknowledge those that are, and kind of put them, when you're talking about things, my guys really they start off and they like reading about people involved in basketball. So it perhaps is a story about John Wooden. They'll hear me talking about these people all the time, or something related to, Larry Bird or Magic Johnson, players that are a little bit older than the kids' recollection of basketball. So we talk about them, and then I talk about a book I've read. Lately I've been talking to the kids about the book, Mark Kriegel's book, Pistol, about Pete Maravich. Just a terrific story about a young person growing up and, just the sad life that he had, success, but never love, and the acknowledgement of important people to him. So kind of things that they may even face in their regular life. But because he's such a star player, I know kids on my team that are going to read it, so then I'll talk about them and how they've read the book, and we share that. By nature now, the kids become more inquisitive, and it kind of, the book starts getting placed from one person to another, and there's ways you can do it without making it mandatory, and then ultimately, most of the kids will read a particular book.
So it becomes part of the culture of the team.
Yeah, and it's like shared. We're on a bus trip. Like tonight, we're going on a bus trip, and we'll talk about some things that are going on right now. Either we'll do some we'll do some current events, or we'll do something from the sports page, and we'll talk about that. And the kids always want to be a part of those discussions. When they're excluded, they don't feel comfortable being excluded, so they're trying to figure out ways of being involved. And if you get into a conversation about a book, about the only way that you can get involved is you're going to have to open up
Very good. You have a reputation for being pretty tough. Maybe you could share with us your philosophy on discipline and how you carry it out.
Sure.
And
But I guess, Steve, starting off having been a probation officer for 30 years, I just know how rough the streets are, and I don't want the kids to succumb to things that go on in the streets. So I think we start off by citing examples all the time of choices that you make and peer pressure, and how, one of the craziest things that occurs with young people is young people are more apt to listen to a peer than to someone who is experienced, who can give them good advice. So we discuss all the time peer pressure and the significance of it. But the things we try to build up in the kids is we try to get them to develop self-discipline, where they can organize their day. They can make the choice of not being on the telephone, but studying, and giving them a curfew and keeping them off street corners, so that they have to start to follow this regimen that we give. And then we have the kids sign, my varsity kids, I have them sign a contract, and the contract kind of covers everything that's logical that they may not be sure that they should do, but deep down they do. So I put it in contract form, have them and the parents sign it, and we do it at the beginning of the basketball season. And then it's being in school on time. It's abstinence from cigarettes, alcohol, and any illegal drugs, and it's curfew, and it's a variety of things, all of common sense. Sign it, and then there could be someone who doesn't go to a study hall could be suspended for that. If someone else was involved in something more serious, it could be a stronger dismissal from a team. So we give them something that they start off with, rules to live by, and then we try to hold them to it. And then we have some little penalties. If somebody does something in school and it's embarrassing to the team, it's something that we just know shouldn't happen. What we'll do is we'll get the group together and we'll have a group punishment. Like we may go to the park and have to run 3 miles, and we may exclude the person who did this from running and make everybody run but him.
Whoa.
Have him just stand there and watch his peers run because he caused this, and then have them respond later on with the kind of pressure that you would expect. That what in the world are you doing, making us be involved in these things because you're just you're not caring right now and you're not responsible.
So I assume you get some pretty good response. They get the spirit of the whole team aspect of it pretty quick.
Yeah, well, if you come into practice at 15 minutes late on a Saturday or a Sunday morning, and you didn't call in advance to say that there was a problem with transportation or something at home, when you come in late now, we just stop the practice as soon as you're dressed, and we have everybody do, if you're 15 minutes late, everybody does 15 minutes of conditioning but you, because you're just being completely irresponsible. Everybody has an ability to reach everybody now. Coaches all have cell phones, kids all have a way of contacting. So
Sure.
I think that's just not being responsible, and that's the way to prepare for the, for the jobs you get. You don't just walk in late to a job. You call in advance and say, I had car trouble or there's traffic, or we had somebody sick overnight, and you let you let your supervisor know that you're going to be late, and then you come in the door and life goes on.
Coach, I can tell you that there are some people listening to this right now that just heard that wished that you had trained some people that they have hired in the past.
Well, and I always say, Steve, that I think the participation in organized sports, if done properly, gives a person an advantage because you can build into it some disciplines that you may not get in everyday life. If done properly.
Absolutely. Well, there's lessons for life. And so that kind of leads me to the next question, which is tell us about some of the players you've worked with over the last 36 years who you consider to be some of your biggest successes.
Yeah, well, I think if I just looked, I probably can talk about 3 different kids. One young man, Jermaine Womack, he graduated in 1991 with my son Danny, and he came to our school in junior year after transferring from public high school, and he basically used to just walk into the door in high school, go to homeroom, and then wander through school for the day. When he came to St. Anthony's, he went through his entire first half of junior year. not used to being made to sit through an entire school day and be held accountable. And then when basketball began towards the end of that semester, he had now learned how to sit through the school day, but he was exhausted from this effort. And now when he had to come to practice, he couldn't function. So it took him all of junior year to learn how to go to school all day and then, function in the afternoon. And then he went on as a senior and did well enough to get himself a scholarship to junior college. Didn't have the grades at this point, with only 2 years of really working at it. And he was coming from public housing, so he had all kinds of tugs on him. But he went to a junior college, went on to Utah State, graduated from Utah State, and he's now a sheriff's officer down in Florida. And he came up to see us recently. It was a family event here, and he's now married. He looks terrific. Everything's going great, but he was just floundering until somebody made him do something, and then he had to catch up, and he had realized that he was so far behind, and he did all this catch up, and now he's got a degree in criminal justice, and he's working as a sheriff's officer, and we're very proud of that guy.
Very cool.
So the next one, though, is probably, I think, of the stories, is probably the most miraculous. There's a young man named Rashawn Burno, who graduated from St. Anthony's in 1997. He was on 3 great teams. He was a 5'7" guard who was just a tough kid. And his parents both died when he was late in grammar school. And he was on Social Security check that he was living by. And he had some family members that were kind of monitoring, how his life was going. But in pretty much was raising himself. He lived in an apartment in the Duncan Projects in Jersey City, had a mattress on the floor, would collect his, would get his Social Security check cashed, would hide the cash in the house, and would buy food that he would cook himself, and managed to get himself through high school, facing all kinds of obstacles with, financial, being able to make adult decisions all the time as a 17-year-old, and left St. Anthony's and got a scholarship to DePaul University out of Chicago. He was the captain of the team at DePaul when he was a senior, and he now has 2 small businesses he's involved in. He's a financial planner, and he's a high school basketball coach out in Chicago.
Wow.
And we're very, very proud of him. He's involved right now in a production company that just did a documentary about St. Anthony's, and this is a guy who was basically made all of his own decisions since age 15. And I guess if you make all your own decisions from age 15 and on, not so difficult to help adults make decisions about managing money, because you've been managing your own money since you're a young kid.
That's right.
And our guy for this year, which we're extremely proud of, is one of our kids, Mike Rosario. Has graduated from St. Anthony's, and Mike, from the time he was, I guess, in about the 4th grade, the Jersey City Boys Club and St. Anthony's have a very strong relationship, and Gary Greenberg, who's the program director there, used to bring him to our gym and make him sit and watch us practice, because this kid was uncontrollable in his, couldn't sit through school, would explode. It's a great athlete, would explode at all athletic events, and he would continuously bring him over to watch us practice in hopes that this would have some effect on him. So as he went through grammar school, as they say, it takes a village to raise a child. Well, the whole city of Jersey City was working on raising Mike Rosario. He fortunately moved out of the same project that Rashawn Burno had lived in. He moved to another part of the city, went into another school. That was very helpful. One of my former players was his teacher, the boys club, and all his football and baseball and basketball coaches all worked on giving this kid some direction. And he came to St. Anthony's, and very much like Jermaine Womack, couldn't sit still, had a hard time getting through the day, had no academic self-esteem. So we had to keep working on getting him to believe that he could do college prep work, and that he could go to college, and he didn't just have to, go to the rec gyms to find his acknowledgement. It could come from other areas other than sports. And he made great progress. He, as a sophomore, was doing much better. As a junior, became the player, the athlete we thought he was going to become, but his transcript was starting to look much better. And in the beginning of this year, he accepted a scholarship to Rutgers University. He's academically qualified, can look back and say, I earned this.
So we hear examples like that, and I'm sure that's just the surface of hundreds that you've worked with over the years. I understand that some people, maybe to your dislike, call you a social worker. To what extent is that true or not true, and why?
Well, I think what happens is I'm a basketball coach first. So, as kids come in to play, you start to observe them, and then you start to learn about them. And then you start to involve yourself, I think naturally involve yourself in guiding them. And then you continue to find out more about them. And you find that, I have a very, and I try to use it judiciously, I have a tremendous amount of influence. So what I want to be able to do now is use this influence and steer the person out of things that they shouldn't be involved in and into things that they need to get involved in, whether it's tutoring or, getting kids out of the neighborhood, getting a kid to join an AAU program so that on a weekend, there's a weekend trip someplace for a tournament, and the kid is not going to be home in the neighborhood because the neighborhood, his peers, could be stifling to be around them. So, you don't just coach number 11, the point guard on your team. I think you coach number 11, the person inside that uniform, and then you find out about that person. And not everybody needs the extra stuff. Some of you kids just need to go in the gym and maybe work on their shooting a little bit more, or they may need a strength program, or somebody may just need, to get an SAT program started. But others may need, some way more important things. And what happens in that period of time, you can either ignore it, or you can step in and build a relationship with the young person, and then because of that relationship, try to help them in those areas. I'd far prefer to do that. So if that means that somebody looks at me as being a social worker, I think high school coaches build relationships with players. You're their coach for life. So when it's time to make a decision about getting married, or they're going to, one of the kids called me yesterday and he was talking to me about, he's a criminal justice major, we're talking about some areas he may put some applications in for a couple of different types of jobs right now. We talk about those things because we did these things earlier in their life, and as they get older, they trust you and they come back and you talk about more adult things. So we don't mind doing that at all because we coach them, we're going to see them all the time, and as I said to you, part of that mentoring thing is we're going to ask them to all come back and ask them to go back and touch the kids that are in school now, offer them advice, explain about, the decisions they had to make growing up, and then it helps to keep the cycle going.
And those are great examples because I understand that your players say of you that you have a unique ability to translate through basketball to daily life. You've given us some great examples of those. Give us a couple more of how you take lessons in athletics and translate them to skills they'll use in the future.
Well, I think what you want to find out is that a lot of times something you're just not good at, you just haven't put enough time in that particular thing. So if it's a deficiency in school, or it's a deficiency in sports, it's a lack of strength or conditioning or a lot of things, it's just you need to put more time in that. So you start by getting organized now and focusing on a problem and developing a work ethic where you're now going to work to eliminate that thing. You're going to take something that may be a weakness and try to turn it into a strength, but at least try to eliminate the fact that it's a weakness. I think anybody who's a member of an organization, a team, or a club or activity, you want to understand your role. So I think a big thing is communication. We want to communicate to the kids what we think their role is. We're always trying to expand the person's role based on how they adjust to the role you give them and how they try to expand the role by their effort. You explain, like St. Anthony's this year finished the season as the number one high school team in the country. All kinds of individual success came to players after team success. So we work first on teamwork, and we geared towards team success. And at the end of the year, individual honors came for many kids. The recognition has been tremendous. But instead of us seeking the individual recognition first, we like being a member of an organization. At the end of the year, everybody benefits from the success of the organization. If during the year people try to concentrate on their own and to see things as they're happening is very important. And then the last thing, which is very important, is it says a lot about a person what happens when there's an obstacle in your path and how you deal with that. Because, a clear road of success is not too difficult to handle, but when obstacles or failures are put in your path, how do you respond to that? Because that's the real mark of, who you are as a person. And I think those things all, get a young person to be able to function. We don't have problems when kids get jobs in Jersey City, and they may have a demanding person that's hired them. The kids will come back to me and say, Coach, he's kind of a tough guy, but, I can deal with it.
Well, and it's easy to tell why. I understand that one of your biggest competitors is your own son, who coaches another high school basketball team in your area.
Correct.
You raised your own competition. So I understand that he has said of you that you are tough on everybody, and I assume that comes from his own personal experience. So tell us how so, and how does that contribute to your success?
Well, I always think that when you're in the moment, you don't, I think this goes for all young people, when you're in the moment, you just think that the pressure on you is enormous. When you're removed from the eye of the storm and you look at it later on and you observe another group, your observation is that myself, for example, I don't drive the next group of kids as hard as I drove the person who's just left the group. So almost yearly, as the kids come back, they'll say to me that I don't seem to be as demanding as I was when they were in school. And I just kind of think it's because they're in that moment, and it's all about them, and they're not really maybe realistic about what exactly is going on. Because what we do is we set the bar very high. I don't lower the bar, and many days the kids don't come ready to go, and I'm ready every single day. Difference between being an adult and being an adolescent. So I challenge them every day. I don't let them do less than their best. So it becomes a problem at times because they're just not ready to do it every day. And as I said earlier, teachers, parents, people will allow kids to be less than their best. They want to be their friend. I say to the kids all the time, particularly now I'm a grandfather, I have 5 grandchildren. My music is oldies. They're listening to rap. I'm wearing, my clothes are comfortable, middle-age outfits. They're wearing, trendy clothes. The only common ground we have is that they're playing for me. I've been doing this a long time, and during this magical carpet ride, they're going to have to hang with me the whole time. And I say to them all the time, I have a strong pair of shoulders. If I need to sometimes, we can all jump on my shoulders. I'll get us through the practice that day because you're kids. But the next day, you're going to have to come in and show me that you understood that you weren't ready yesterday. I drove us through the day. The next day, it's back to you again.
So let's take out those that violate your rules of using drugs and not using drugs and alcohol. I'm sure you've lost some kids to those things, but maybe you could share with us any other examples of players that you have not been able to work with that you had to let go.
Yeah. There's a couple of things that I think are unacceptable. The first one is very simple: if the kid doesn't value his education, and in school he just is a problem with his day-to-day behavior. We bring him in, we talk about it a couple of times, and it continues. If you're in school and you're disrespectful of your education, I'm going to have to, put you out of the program. Because my goal here is to put every kid in a position where they can attend college. And if you're not valuing your education, why are we talking about college? So that would be the first thing. A kid that comes to private school, taking all college prep classes, and doesn't value the education, we're going to have trouble, and they're not going to, I'm going to have to separate them. Second thing which we can't tolerate is a kid who just comes to school and his agenda is a personal one. He wants to be a star player. He's not interested in being like a spoke in a wheel. He wants to be the wheel. And whether it's his youth coach, his brother, family members, friends, when he comes to play at St. Anthony's, it's team, it's we, it's not I. So when someone shows that it's about them basketball. And, kids have gone to St. Anthony's as freshmen and not got their hair cut. And they've told other kids that they're going to wait for coach to go to them and let them come to, tryouts with their hair long, and they've graduated, and no one's ever gone to them to get them to, get their hair cut. Because I think in order to be a part of an organization that's going to be, it's going to be tough with rewards, you got to give some things up. So right off the bat, you're giving up some of these things right now that I think are not long term. A 15-year-old kid getting a tattoo at age 15, he may not be happy with that tattoo when he's 35 years old, and now his children are growing up and they're looking at tattoos that were put on his body when he had the mindset of a 15-year-old. So we try to do those things to try to help them. And then when if they want to adorn their body with tattoos when they go to college, they've at least waited till they're a point where they're, away from us and at an age where if they make that decision, I hope they can live with it, because again, it's something that it's kind of trendy.
And I assume that's detailed out in your contract.
Yes, it is. Yes, that's part. The kids kind of know when they take it home. And we say to them, you take it home and you don't have to sign it. But if you don't sign it, then you really need to, do something else, because it's not negotiable.
When you look at the overall success at St. Anthony's, you've got 60% or so of your students come from homes below the poverty level, yet nearly every graduate gets accepted to go to college, which that in and of itself is an amazing accomplishment. So when you look at the big picture of the organization as a whole, not just the athletic program, but the whole organization, what is it that happens there that creates that kind of a successful result?
Okay. Well, I think first of all you have to have staff that's dedicated. The teachers at school have made a decision that this particular school that they work at, the benefits of working with these people, they feel very good about it. It's not salary. The coaches at the school, we love coaching at the school because the kids, basketball is important to them. So it's something that we know the kids are like pieces of clay. You can mold them because they want to be good in basketball. It's something that their self-esteem will build up in other areas, but basketball is very important. But the faculty, I think, cares about the kids. I think the coaches care about them. It's a small school, so you can nurture young people. You can bring them along. You can identify who they are. They get the attention in class. Every teacher, the kids know every teacher. The teachers know kids by first name basis. It's not just large groups of kids, in and out. We have a lot of remediation. So kids who come into high school that have to improve their math or they have to improve their reading skills, we're able to bring them along. As I said, small classes give the opportunity for a person to stand out and to draw attention to themselves. I think they come in with a desire to be successful. I just don't think they know, what it takes. So we try to give them a master plan, for being successful. And then just as I said, we just keep trying to motivate them by those that are ahead of them and what they've accomplished. And you bring a person back who's one of the graduates, and they speak at a banquet or they speak at graduation, and you look at this tremendously polished person, and you say to the kid, "Now, how about that? That guy was a knucklehead just like you when he was in high school. Look at him now." And that means a lot, I think.
Sure. So for anybody who has to lead and manage people, and that certainly is something you do on a daily basis in a broader sense, what advice would you give anybody in a leadership or management position to be more effective at getting people to perform at a higher level?
Well, I think the most important thing in getting people to perform is you have to build relationships. And building relationships it's a funny thing because you're trying to work on you're trying to make sure that the person knows that you care about them, you have some interest in them outside of the workday. But again, in the adult world, you walk a fine line as to how as to how involved you do get. But I think everything in life is we need to know who we are working with, and we need to know things about them. I think it's important for a person who's in position of leadership that the other people see them performing all tasks. Work, as I've always said since I was a kid, my dad It's caused by, it can be caused by rest, it can be caused by diet, it can be caused by lack of goals, and you need to do some stuff to rouse the troops a little bit. So, telling stories, and giving them some things, having books available for people to read, perhaps putting on, bringing in some motivational speakers, some things that'll get people, get the blood flowing a little bit. I think that's very, very important.
Great ideas. Obviously, a great success story, not only in the athletic program, but the school as a whole. And we know that Dr. Zampieri has dedicated a tremendous amount of time to helping raise money for the school through his foundation's efforts. Maybe you could fill us in quickly for those who would like to financially contribute to St. Anthony's. Tell us how they could do that.
Sure. Well, we run a couple of golf tournaments. So we have a development office at the school, and we've got 3 or 4 different fundraising events that we run during the year. And the development office is development at St. Anthony, stanthonyhighschool.org. And there's also a telephone number, and it's Kathleen Stout does all the development of school, and we're looking for people to mentor students, to plan a golf tournament, certainly if somebody wants to make a financial contribution, it can go towards the general fund. But Kathleen Stout is the development person, and her telephone number is 201-653-5739. And she'd be able to, earmark any one of a bunch of things that the school's involved in.
The book that was written about you in the program, Miracle at St. Anthony's, which has been out for a couple of years, but chronicles, as I understand it, a year in your life with one of the more challenging teams that you've had, and is a great read as well, and that's available on Amazon as well as bookstores around the country. Coach, thanks for your time today. We appreciate you sharing your wisdom and your experience with us, and congratulations on your success on the court, but even more so, the success that you've created in the lives of hundreds of kids. You're a great inspiration to all of us.
Steve, thanks for having me today.
Thank you. Our thanks again to Coach Bob Hurley for his wisdom and insights. In an effort to translate knowledge into action, here's a brief 6-point summary of Coach Hurley's ideas for your consideration and application. First, what is your leadership philosophy, and is it time to upgrade it? Coach Hurley suggested 6 aspects to his own philosophy that you might want to consider adding to your own. First, continually challenge each team member to reach his or her potential. 2, as a team, master the basics. 3, keep your efforts focused on the team as a whole. Play as a team and win as a team. 4, put more emphasis on team statistics rather than just on individual statistics. 5, don't let the little things slip by. Small things add up to be big things. 6, stay on the cutting edge by attending CE regularly. Point number 2, develop a culture of continual improvement and individual potential. What mentors does your team have as a team as well as individually? Coach Hurley brings his successful graduates back to mentor his current students. How can you expose your team to other successful teams so that they can see a brighter vision of what's possible? What do you read as a team? Coach Hurley has created an athletic library with biographies of successful athletes for the players to read about. Do you have a practice library where your team can read, learn, and grow? Do your team conversations center around examples that you look to that you can model and emulate? Number 3, team discipline. How well have you defined the behavioral expectations of your team so that you can maintain the discipline of success? Coach Hurley has his team members sign a behavioral contract with detailed expectations and consequences. If it's been a while, you might want to revisit the idea of an office culture guide. explained on a previous Crown Council Mentor of the Month program and available online at www.mycrowncouncil.com. 4. Are you managing the whole person or just a position in your office? Coach Hurley told us that he always has to remember that there is a person behind the number on the jersey. His job is to get to know the person and what makes them tick. It's all about communication. Any area of weakness is an opportunity to spend time to develop that area into a strength. One of our jobs is to help identify those areas and challenge ourselves and our team members to work diligently to improve. 5. You're not everyone's coach. Even one of the winningest coaches in the country can't make every player into a winner. 2 ingredients that Coach Hurley mentioned were that 1, each player has to have the same vision in order to play. In his case, that vision includes succeeding as a team and valuing the education they're getting. And 2, watch out for personal agendas that conflict with the team's purpose and goals. A team simply can't win unless all the players are playing the same way, running the same way down the court, and are playing out of the same playbook. 6th, and finally, a few management tips. First, constantly plan for the present and the future. Meet frequently with your team for meaningful, accountable action planning. Second, say something positive about each team member within the first 15 minutes of your day. Now, that may be a little easier if you're coaching basketball, but the same general rule applies. Make it a point to say some words of encouragement, appreciation, or gratitude to each team member every day as early in the day as possible. And third, constantly work on motivational tools to keep your team out of getting stuck in a rut. We all need encouragement and inspiration. Look for new ways to do that every day. We hope you will listen and re-listen to this recording with Coach Bob Hurley. It contains even more ideas than we've just listed that apply to any team on or off the court. It's all part of the commitment to continual improvement and excellence that's part of the Crown Council mission. So from all of us at the Crown Council, good luck as you take the next step in developing your winning team.